Lloyd Axworthy is a former Foreign Affairs Minister, and he is the chair of the World Refugee and Migration Council. We've reached him today in Winnipeg. Welcome back to the program. I know you've been advocating for something like what the government is doing for several years now, through your group has. On the face of it, it seems like something that would be easy to get behind, right? So what are the challenges in making something like this a reality?
Well, Catherine, let me say first that this is an initiative that has a potential for really introducing a very different dynamic into the Russian invasion of Ukraine on two counts. One, the oligarchs who have been able to hide all their ill-begotten gains in different havens around the world are going to find that those piggy banks are now not going to be safe anymore. They're going to be redispersed. That really changes the dynamics. And I think these oligarchs are going to find that, and Putin, by the way, is one of those who will be affected because he has hundreds of billions of dollars sort of hidden in different pockets and different little banks around and investment areas. So that changes the politics in the Kremlin very substantially. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of international cooperation. But sanctions themselves were important, but now the sanctions are going to be redirected to actually helping Ukrainians who have been victimized, the refugees, the reconstruction in the country itself.
You, sir, though, make the point yourself. You talk about piggy banks and hidden assets. Does this not... There are challenges in locating those assets, and I certainly have heard reporting about the need for transparency laws in order to be able to locate the assets in the first place. Is that... I imagine this law is only a piece of the puzzle. We don't know where a lot of these assets are, I imagine.
No, but we know how to find them. I think there's some very high-powered forensic, serious experts, both in the banking system and others. By the way, the Swiss have already brought in legislation of this kind, and they have already sort of pioneered in many ways how, and there's no more secretive system of banking than there is in Switzerland, and they are pioneering in how do you get a more public exposure through public registries who digging in. So this is going to require a lot of collaboration internationally. That's where I think Canada has a very important leadership role to play, is to bring the different partners together. There's going to happen at the G7, but I would extend that out to other countries to include the broad sort of network of corrupt arrangements we have in this world. But in Ukraine particularly, it adds a whole new different set of pressures on undermining the Russian sort of support for Putin, because all of a sudden those who thought that they could rest easy, that their money would be frozen but not touched, they're going to find that all of a sudden it's going to evaporate, and that is going to change the whole dynamics very, very strongly in terms of affecting Putin's behavior.
The government, when it comes to the present situation, the government was asked repeatedly yesterday for a dollar figure of the frozen Russian assets in Canada, and nobody was able to give us anything beyond tens of millions of dollars. Does that surprise you?
Right. Well, I think there's more than that. Let me just say that when we were doing the research on this at the Refugee and Migration Council, we heard back from the World Bank that about $20 billion a year is being sort of sucked away by kleptocrats and oligarchs and dictators into their own sort of back pockets.
But not in Canada alone.
Oh, it's in Canada. I can't give names because that gets me into some legal issues, but I can tell you there's already been identification of several Russian investments and holdings in this country that once the legislation is passed and the court system comes into play, that those can then be identified and brought forward for repossession and redirection.
I'm just trying to understand, though, sir, that the $20 billion, you're saying that is entirely in Canada? Or the $20 billion is a global figure? Yes.
That's a global figure.
Okay.
But I suspect that that's probably just a good guesstimate. I suspect there's a lot more than that. I mean, we know that Putin himself has money in the eight figures that can be identified. That's going to take a network, careful collaboration, and not just for Ukraine, for a lot of other countries. I mean, the impact this could have on many of the African countries who have been suffering from high levels of corruption by people basically state taking their money away. So this has real implications, and that's why Canada taking lead in this is really something I think that we have to applaud, because it's a good first step, but it means the House of Commons and Senate are going to have to wrap their heads around. But as you know, one of our council members, Senator Odevar, already has a bill in the Senate that's ready for third reading that can provide a base foundation for that initiative.
So why is this so hard then, Mr. Axworthy? I mean, again, on the face of it, it seems to be something that is appealing, and yet, and you talk about the fact Canada is now willing to do this, there's interest in the United States. Is it that there are powerful people who can pull strings and just are nervous about what this means? Why would other countries not be quick to embrace this?
Look, there's no question how much impact and power these sort of offshore oligarchs have. There's been stories recently in the British press about how the City of London has virtually been bought out by foreign investments, and a lot of those is money that's been purloined. I think you can say the same things. There's cases, I think, in our own country, which I know about, but I'm kind of reluctant to talk about. That information can be shared so in all kinds of places, including some of the smallest countries of the world and some of the biggest. There's money that's being hidden and being corruptly used. So I think that this is the beginning of a really could be a very substantial alteration, change of a paradigm internationally about how we deal with that broad issue of corruption. And I think it's something that Canadians are ready to support.
Okay. Well, we're going to leave the discussion there today, but it is certainly an issue that we're going to keep watching because, as you say, it could have some very serious implications. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Okay, you're welcome. And please keep on bringing this to light.
Former Foreign Affairs Minister Lloyd Axworthy.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.